What? What about what's her name? Your friend, Vioni, on vacation in Majorca, snapped Aunt Putania. You could just leave me here, Harry put in hopefully. He would be able to watch what he wanted on television for a change and maybe even have a go on Dudley's computer. And Putania looked as though she would just swallowed a lemon. And come back and find the house in ruins? She snarled. I won't blow up the house, said Harry, but they weren't listening. I suppose we could take him to the zoo, said Aunt Putania slowly, and leave him in the car. That car is new. He's not sitting it in alone. Dudley began to cry loudly. In fact, he wasn't really crying. It had been years since he had really cried. But he knew that if he screwed up his face and wailed, his mother would give him anything he wanted. Dinky Duddy Dums, don't cry. Mommy won't let him spoil your special day, she cried, flinging her arms around him. I don't want him. I don't want him to come. Dudley yelled between huge pretend sobs. He always spoils everything. He shot Harry a nasty grin through the gap in his mother's arms. Just then the doorbell rang. Oh, good Lord, they are here, said Aunt Putania frantically. And a moment later, Dudley's best friend Pius Polkiss walked in with his mother. Pius was a scrawny boy with a face like a rat. He was usually the one who held people's arms behind their backs while Dudley hid them. Dudley stopped pretending to cry at once. Half an hour later, Harry, who couldn't believe in his luck, was sitting in the back of the Dursleys' car with Piers and Dudley on the way to the zoo. For the first time in his life, his aunt and uncle hadn't been able to think of anything else to do with him. But before they would be left, Uncle Vernon had taken Harry aside. I am warning you, he had said, putting his large purple face right up close to Harry's. I am warning you now, boy. Any funny business, anything at all, and you will be able in that cupboard from now until Christmas. I'm not going to do anything, said Harry honestly. But Uncle Vernon didn't believe him. No one ever did. The problem was, strange things happened oftenly around Harry, and it was just no good telling the Dursleys he didn't make them happen. Once Aunt Putania, tired of Harry coming back from the barber's looking as though he hadn't been at all, and taken a pair of kitchen scissors and cut his hair so short he was almost bald except for his bangs, which she left. The hide, that horrible scar. Yes, to hide that horrible scar. Dudley had laughed himself silly at Harry, who spent a sleepless night imagining school the next day, where he was already laughed at for his baggy clothes and taped glasses. Next morning, however, he had gotten up to find his hair exactly as it had been before Aunt Putania had shed it off. He had been given a week in his cupboard for his, even though he had tried to explain that he couldn't explain how it had grown back to so quickly. Another time, Aunt Petunia had been trying to force him into a revolting old sweater of Dudley's, brown with orange puff balls. The harder she tried to pull it over his head, the smaller it seemed to become, until finally it might have fitted a hand puppet, but certainly wouldn't fit Harry. Aunt Petunia had decided it must have been shrunk in the wash, and to his great relief, Harry wasn't punished. On the other hand, he would gotten into terrible trouble for being found on the roof of the school kitchens. Dudley's gang had been chasing him as usual, when as much to Harry's surprise as anyone else's. There he was, sitting on the chimney. The Dursleys had received a very angry letter from Harry's headmistress, telling them Harry had been climbing school buildings. But all he had tried to do, as he shouted at Uncle Vernon through the locked door of his cupboard, was jump behind the big trash cans outside the kitchen doors. Harry supposed that the wind must have caught him in mid-jump. But today, nothing was going to go wrong. It was even worth being with Dudley and Piers to be spending the day somewhere that wasn't school, his cupboard, or Mrs. Figg's cabbage-smelling living room. While he drove, Uncle Vernon complained to Aunt Petunia. He liked to complain about things. People at work, Harry, the council, Harry, the bank, and Harry were just a few of his favorite subjects. This morning it was motorcycles, roaring along like mannequins, the young handlooms, he said as a motorcycle overtook them. I had a dream about a motorcycle, said Harry, remembering suddenly. It was flying. Uncle Vernon nearly crashed into the car in front. He turned right around in his seat and yelled at Harry, his face like a gigantic beast with a mustache. Motorcycles don't fly. Dudley and Piers sniggered. I know they don't, said Harry. It was only a dream. But he wished he hadn't said anything. If there was one thing the Dursleys hated even more than his asking questions, it was his talking about anything acting in a way it shouldn't, no matter if it was in a dream or even in a cartoon. They seemed to think he might get dangerous ideas. It was a very sunny Saturday and the zoo was crowded with families. The Dursleys bought Dudley and Piers large chocolate ice cream at the entrance, and then, because the smiling lady in the van had asked Harry what he wanted before they could hurry him away, they bought him a cheap lemon ice pop. It wasn't bad either, Harry thought, licking it as they watched a gorilla scratching its head, who looked remarkably like Dudley, except that it wasn't blonde. Harry had the best morning he would had in a long time. He was careful to walk a little way apart from the Dursleys, so that Dudley and Piers, who were starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime, wouldn't fall back on their favorite hobby of hitting him. They ate in the zoo restaurant, and when Dudley had a tantrum because his knickerbocker glory didn't have enough ice cream on top. Uncle Vernon bought him another one, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterward that he should have known it was all too good to last.